Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Call the meeting to order. Thank you everybody for coming. So I'd like to introduce our members present. We have Chris Cretan, Diane Tyson, Frank Cosworth, and Bruce Hess. One from the township staff, we have township manager, Tara Hitchens, and Charlie Thomas, and I don't know, and Lisa Cleveland, our director of recreation, right? And we have some new folks, so I don't know who these people.
Kim Peastrap, assistant township manager.
Okay. Yes.
Peastrap.
All right. Okay. Let's rise from the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay. Has everyone read the meeting, the minutes of the June 25th meeting? Do you want a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? No. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to say, by the way, the brief thing, I apologize everybody for my failure to send the agenda out last month, and our cancellation of the meeting was all on me. I had my son and his family here, and I didn't forget the meeting, but I forgot about sending the agenda. So I was too late. My apologies, and hopefully we'll be able to make up for lost time. So thanks everyone, and okay, first, public concerns or comments. Do we hear anything? Okay. Okay, and we don't have anybody online. Okay, good. All right. Reports, grounds, buildings, and trails.
With Matt and Fall Balls probably just getting started now. There is a new staff for CB Baseball Association. Just received an email last week from the president. So getting to know who changed everything. There was a gentleman by the name Chris. His last name I can't remember. Ward. Yeah, Chris Ward. He has stepped down, and there's another gentleman that's in now. We're back and forth with some issues that were outstanding. We're trying to get straightened out, but hopefully we can get him in here to at least introduce himself so we know what we're dealing with. Couple of things. The public works staff paved the path from the parking lot down towards the Lions Pavilion because we had an issue with runoff overstanding. It's in the budget to take care of that. That is complete. They got around to repairing the fitness trail equipment. That's complete. And they're in the process of putting the water fountain in at Flory Park in the area of the Clark. They gotta wait till the concrete cures before they can put the actual canal. So that should be done within the next week or so. Michael Wolf is the new president of CB Baseball Association. or the contact at this point. That should cover me at this point.
There were some nice additions to Community Park with the rings that they had.
Oh, the stuff that they've been working on.
Good things. Nice to see them.
Yeah, they're getting big, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I guess we'll just, go to the, Eastern Bear East Bay chapter, recreation program. Director's reports.
We recently just completed, the Mill Creek exploration. We had about 10 people in that. Then we had the movie night at Woodbury Park. We had about 50 plus, with Alliance Towing helping us, doing hamburgers, hot dogs and drinks and that. Weather was a little spotty, but we got through. And then we had someone from the Attorney General's education program come and do a program on identity theft this past week. And it was a couple seniors that came in for that. And so there's a program that we had postponed, a senior scam one that we've scheduled now for like November 6th. And I can jump in. They run the program for you, but it's a similar program to the identity theft. Yep, we have it in here, yep. And it's a nice program that goes to us, so those that, helps us out, helps the community out too. Upcoming, we've got Zumba that we're holding at Lafayette Fire Company on September the 10th. There's a beginner bird walk September 15th, it's gonna be at Community Park. And then our Folk Festival, October the 4th, one that we started last year. We've already got some commitments for pumpkins for that, as well as, some volunteers from the community to help us run it as well. And then we have another movie in the park, a Halloween movie that we're doing October the 24th. We're going to do a candy scramble with that. And Alliance Towing, once again, is going to help out with the hamburgers and hot dogs and help us with the manpower for the candy scramble. So they've been a really good resource for us recently. And then the possible signage or the information kiosk over at, we're looking to put something in over at Community Park because we want to be able to display our information so that people that are utilizing the park will see what we have upcoming. So we talked about possibly putting something by the bathrooms that's like a plexiglass that we can affix flyers to, like on a post similar to what we're using currently at Forey to do that. So we got going on.
Good. All right. That's great. So, and nothing else, no other reports, old business, do we have any old business you want to discuss? New business, under new business, we have a discussion of the budget, these are suggested by Ms. Hitchens, so I thought that was a great idea that we talk about that. I don't know, what's your pleasure? How would you like to structure this discussion?
So if we could go over some of the income and expenses for this year in this budget year, and then maybe that leads into the discussion next.
Okay.
So Lisa was kind enough to provide you with a few forms at your seat there. And the first one goes through recreational programming, registrations, other payments, and then the summer playground sponsorships, as well as the summer playground staffing costs. So the staffing costs were not as great as we had anticipated in the budget, because the staff was really great about clocking in at 8:15 and clocking out at 1:15. And quite honestly, it's their summer too, so they didn't want to spend any more time than they needed to. And we had a few days where it was holidays, so they didn't get paid for those days. That said, our expenses are just slightly over $8,000 compared to our revenue for recreational programs. That does not take into account the pavilion rentals or sports fields rentals, and you can see those are listed there just below those figures at $18,920 for the year so far for 2025, compared to the $16,000 in 2024.
Can you attribute that to increased usage or change in how we charged for the fields? Any thoughts on that?
So I think if we look at the total number of pavilion rentals, we're very close to where we were last year in pavilion rentals. There's obviously the increased charge for non-resident users and then the charge for the sports fields. So all of that has contributed towards the increase. The next page that she provided was just some detail on program registration, income versus facility rates. And so you can see where the funds are coming from. And this is a report that's from RecDesk, the software program that Lisa uses to track all of this. The pavilion rentals then are listed on the next sheet, and you can see over 185 pavilion rentals, and you can see that High Pavilion is the most sought after pavilion. And then there were 42 rentals for the sports fields, either the volleyball field or the baseball field. And then Lisa broke it down by resident and non-resident. There's some other information that goes along there, demographic information that is automatically collected through RecDesk.
What is the other 18?
So those may be the children in the summer playground program or children that are registered for other programs that we've had, like the birding program had kids in it, the stream program had kids in it, so that's what that. Would also like to report that thanks to Lisa's efforts, we are 500 registrants on RecDesk within 1 year, so that's pretty amazing. Now that said, Lisa and Tim and I have been talking about how the summer playground program went this year and how we may improve it next year. You know, this was our first year, and don't get me wrong, I didn't do anything here. We did that first step. So, but there's always room for improvement when you start a new program, and there's a few things that could be done differently that, you know, were learned during this first summer. And there's also recognition that not all kids that are signed up for the program attend the program all weeks. And so we could definitely increase the number of children that are in the program next year with some adjustments to staffing, increasing the staffing ever so slightly, especially given the figures that we had in staffing costs in 2025. So looking to double the number to 80 children, which would be fantastic. Lisa was inundated with phone calls up into the day and even the first week of summer playground, with families still trying to get their children into the summer playground program. So it was a highly sought after program. The cost was really affordable for this year, and we will have to increase the cost next year. That was one of the lessons learned. We did look at potentially having more sponsors this year, but we ended up with great sponsors for some of the programs and T-shirts and things like that. We have a great working relationship with the school district, which we hope to continue into next year. But we do think that we could double the number of students.
Did the school district, say anything about the availability of Smoketown then for next year? Or do you know, like, kind of what the situation will be? Because,
Everybody's in the same space.
yeah,
And they didn't indicate.
okay.
So the building is slated to be utilized for a number of years yet by the school district because changes that need to happen at Fritz and Brownstown is my understanding.
So are you still considering possibly 2 sites or just 1 site?
If we're gonna double the space there, I think we'll focus on that location for next year and then work from there.
Did you get any feedback from the participants on how their experience was and all that, or is that?
Just sharing with Diane beforehand. Her grandson ran up to daughter day and said, "Mom, I had such a great time. Can we do this again next year?" Yeah. So there were most of the responses, especially on that last day, were that they enjoyed it.
Best endorsement
And
you could
you
get.
know that like your kid to get far to go somewhere, it's probably.
Yes.
The staff at Lisa Center running the program really worked hard at putting schedule and, a structured half a day at school. But at the same time, the kids were outside, even though it was hot some days, they were outside, they were playing, they were getting their hands dirty, planting and looking at bugs and reptiles. Nate was trying to, I think, with the snakes.
Product device and insight from.
I mean, do you have any, or do you have any idea? Like, I mean, I would like to, my goal would be to say, we want to meet the need as much as possible, to meet the demand. And, if we can, and I'm not saying about, okay, so we've got to double or triple the size of it next year or anything like that. But I think over perhaps a 3 or 5 year period, we might want to think about how we need to, if the demand is there, I think, I'd like to see, that would be a real high priority, because I would think, I would assume there'd be lots of happy parents if we can accommodate more people. So the question is, what do you need? What do we need to be able to scale up, if you will?
Well, I think at the current location, we can do the program and double the size reasonably for next year. You're always gonna have growing pains, but I don't wanna grow so quickly that we misstep too.
No, and I'm not, I guess what I'm saying is, I agree with you. We don't want to, but I want to say that we understand that growth is, that there's an increasing demand or a demand there, and we'd like to accommodate it, judiciously, but we want to, that would be something I would really encourage that we do. Do you need more money? Do we need more money, more sponsors? Do we need more?
Yes.
Okay.
And just for the staffing.
That's always that's always the case. So, that's why I asked.
Right.
The finding staffing was pretty much down to the line, but as the summer playground started, and that was, for 40 children. So if we're doubling it, we need to start earlier. We need to get, we even got the kids, because they're so much younger, but we got sometimes staff in here during spring break, so that we could interview them in time for some place to start. We need to start it earlier.
we don't really know what the universe is as far as what the possibility might be. You want to grow, but we have no clue as to how many.
Well, the point is,
possibly-
we're adding hundreds of housing units, as we speak, so it's only gonna grow long term. So anyway, yeah, I mean, the question is, I think the one thing, I mean, do you have something, I mean, how many sponsors were there in the $2,500? Did you each put up?
Well, there were different levels of sponsorship, so we had several levels or several sponsors that were like the t-shirt sponsors, so at that level, it's like $300, and there were a few at that point. Then we had program sponsors, that one of the programs educational programs we brought in, they sponsored that. Then there was also a sponsor for the, pollinator garden. I think the restaurant store did that. So we had, trying to think of the t-shirt on the back of it, how many sponsors we had, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or so.
So we had East Land Peters logo, we had the school district's logo, we had Lancaster Library, Tanger, the restaurant store, Ken's Gardens, and Third Hand.
Yeah, the CV school did the printing for the shirts.
Would there be, I guess what I'm wondering is, can we support your efforts? Is there any, I mean, I don't know, did you go out and solicit, you went out personally and?
Yeah, I sent out to local businesses and talked to local businesses, yeah, so if you all have contacts that, of people that you think would make sense to be a sponsor for the program, let me know and I can send the information to them.
I have a question on the ball field and volleyball rentals. Were they all in conjunction with pavilion rentals, or did anybody come and rent the fields alone as a standalone,
Well, I don't know that we can tell you that off the top of our head.
Okay, I'm just curious if,
Yeah, because that was one.
Or could rent the fields and.
In looking at when the reservations came in, I think for the most part it was in conjunction with. And keep in mind too, those were blocks of time, not full day. So I know there were certain individuals that would come in and, like for Ascension Day, they would rent all the pavilions and then do the sports fields as well.
Is there any way we can use the sign out to advertise some recreation programs? I mean, because there's much more high visibility on Old Philadelphia Pike as opposed to the bulletin board at the park.
Quite honestly, that sign's usually filled.
Yeah, I know it is filled a lot. Again, if there's in long-term thinking, think of, because of the visibility and the traffic that goes there, it would be a great place to advertise our recreation offerings.
Also down at one yet to be developed. At Nolts.
Yeah, or if there's a way to put them in, even down at the mall. It's just more high traffic area.
And I want to go back to something that you raised there that I forgot about. When we established the rentals, the program that we did for this year, I remember we had a couple of discussions about that. How did that work out? And are there any changes you would recommend in how we organize that? Remember I'm trying to remember what that was, but because I remember you guys got to me it was like right before the end of the year and said, oh, hey, how are we supposed to do that? So how did that work out with the system we had? And are there any changes that you'd recommend in how we did that?
I'll let them answer that. As far as the program we're using,
No, I'm talking about the rentals.
Reservation.
Pavilion and the ball field rentals and everything like that.
I've really not gotten a lot of feedback, from people saying, good or bad. I know The feedback that I've received is more along the lines of they're glad that they can do the reservation from home at their own convenience versus, having to come in during office hours and do a reservation.
Yeah, no, what I'm really thinking about is also how we had them. We separated out the rentals of the fields and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know a few people had asked about them from the front desk I've heard, but I've not gotten any complaints
Okay.
from me.
We didn't cause any real angst within the office here.
Not with the,
This program. Yeah, because people would register, you'd approve them, and they'd go and do their own reservations. They'd be able to see the calendar and what's renting for that day.
don't get me wrong, there's a few individuals that have problems registering. Because they either generally use a computer or they didn't have a credit card, but other than that.
Employees.
They involved, but does people want involved?
Helped several people. And it was usually, someone who isn't familiar with using electrical devices and, help them through it. There's a glitch in the system that if say you're at home and you get kicked off of your Wi-Fi for some reason, it shuts down, it'll hold your reservation for 15 minutes, but it holds it so no one else takes it. But you can't get back to it either, so you have to wait 15 minutes and then go back in. But that's the biggest problem I think that we've seen.
Do we do any follow-up surveys with people that participated in the programs in terms of how happy they were or?
Yeah, so for the summer playground, I sent out a Google survey to people. It was good, but I only had 3 responses. So you're trying to get people to respond to those surveys sometimes is a little bit of a challenge.
Because I was gonna say, I wonder if we could, since we have 500 people in a database now, I wonder if it's worth sending surveys out to them to say, what other programming would you like to see? And what, because you have contact info.
Right,
And
like
there's
there's
just a QR code in the township newsletter to say, respond to the survey, since you can more personalize it. Since you have their contact info and maybe get some ideas of what people would like that we're not doing and use.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're super users. I mean, so they're ones we want to really know and really want to hear from them. So that's good.
I sent an email to say this is what's upcoming and ask for feedback. Even like with the movie title, sometimes I'll send something out and say, this is what we're thinking about. Your vote to me.
Good. Well, I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I'd be curious. I don't know what anybody else's expectations were for our first year program, but in my mind, I don't know. I'd love to hear what anybody else feels, but I think you met and exceeded my expectations, and
Yeah, for first year, just getting things going.
I mean, you're getting off the ground. It's good. Yeah.
Slow but sure, everything keeps,
Yeah. Great.
and it's just word of mouth. And as more people participate, then the word gets out that there's things happening. Again, there's better ways we can advertise, whether it's to use through the school district and get more info out through their community bulletin boards, through the school.
They do have a link on their site that's community bulletin board that links to our site. It was a little difficult for me to find.
I'd just be curious, in your view, and this is a double question, so you can anticipate the second one after I ask you the first one. In your mind, what worked really well?
What worked really well?
Yeah.
Well, I think summer playground went really well. There's several things. Our community events, I feel, connected the community and worked really well. especially the fall festival we did last year. But even to the individuals that have signed up for like the yoga classes that, have created a friendship within those classes and continue to come back. I think there's one of the things that we want to do is create programs for everyone in the community, and feel like we're heading in that direction.
Okay. So the second question, which is probably obvious, is what would you say didn't work as well as you'd expect or didn't meet your expectations?
Well, I think still getting the information, as you pointed out, Diane, to the community is one of the things that we struggle to do. And, trying to find the mediums to do that. Still working our way through that.
Yeah, it's always a problem.
My perspective, what's worked really great is Lisa has formed relationships within the community and worked with other local leaders that in the creation field, not just specifically creation, but fire companies who are also doing events, right? And trying to get community support. So she's fostered those relationships. And then with High's recreation person over in Greenfield and trying to figure out how to bring that community into our events as well, to interact with theirs and bringing all of them together to work on a winter festival for this winter. So that's a great community building aspect. I think summer playground went fantastic. I think Lisa with all of the right staff in place as well. And you asked about surveys. Not only did she send out the survey to all those participated, but she asked the step, what can we do? And how can we make this? And by the way, do you plan on doing next year? So that too, fantastic. I think she's really working hard to meet the needs of all of every age group. It was pointed out to us, maybe missing the teenage age. And so she's been, trying to come up with ideas to meet that. I have 2 teenagers and we know how busy I work with 2 teenagers. So I don't know what other recreation they might do, but movie nights going from 20 individuals being there to more than 50, and she's gone the cooperation with Lions Towing to provide free hamburgers and hot dogs to everyone that shows up, which is an amazing cooperative relationship for East Lampeter.
Okay, here's an idea for you for teenagers, and this might be really off the wall, but what goes around? Dances. I mean, really, the high school only has homecoming and prom, and there's nothing else. So maybe you work with somebody at the high school and say, well, can we, do an all, back in the day. I mean, that just might be one goofy thing. But
Very retro.
it's around comfort. Hey, wide leg jeans are comfortable. Just have to.
So
Just no other opportunity other than men. The schools don't do anything for.
And I would say, Lisa, I mean, just is a real compliment to you, Lisa, that you've been, what are you, program director and, HR coordinator and promotional director and, cruise director and chief cook and bottle washer. I mean, it just seems like you have a lot of hats. So an awful lot of credit for doing what we hoped and exceeding our expectations. So anyway, okay. Well, thank you for preparing all this information. This is really good. It gets off to a good start. Anything else? Anybody want to talk about any other aspects of the budget? This doesn't, we reviewed programs. Anything else anybody wants to suggest or or bring up?
So we still know that Gibbons Park is on the list and the board, knows that's on the list as well. And we're still searching for funding to fully fund that. And because of cost, it's something that the board has indicated needs to be fully funded. So,
And there's no halfway steps we can take along the way. It's,
developing just the western side of the park and applied for multiple funding opportunities. Fortunately or unfortunately, those are state opportunities, and we all know where that budget stands at this point in time in the year, so we won't hear in timely fashion.
Just had a question into, I saw in the paper the other week about over at Rockville, they were having some issues with sewers or something like that. And one of the places they were going to maybe give them a lien or a way, maybe out of it, were taking some of the monies that they were going to supply for the parks and giving them leeway and not have to pay that. Is that the paper? Was that the paper stated correctly? Or did I read it wrong that they were not going to make them pay that money? They are going to have to pay towards the parks for the development.
Fee is actually required of the development. It has nothing to do with the sewer improvements that are needed. However, the board did sign an agreement with the developers of Rockville that provides for portions of those funds returned in order for them to do the streetscape improvements along their entire frontage that will be required of them.
So that's where money was they just weren't going to relieve them of not paying that money. This is the way I read the paper, everybody reads things differently. That's how I read it. Like, oh, you don't have to pay this. We'll just use that money towards a problem we ran into. That didn't sound great.
It's not for the sewer. It would actually be used to implement the trail along and to the site.
I was trying to remember that. I thought there was some connection with the trail too. I wasn't sure. Okay.
one suggestion that I would throw out for the recreation program is that if we could have some sort of a special emphasis for people that are moving in, since we've got all these new residences that are going to be in our area in the next couple of years. If we got 1,000 new households, is there some way we can suck them in easier or more directly than residents that are used to things as they are and are more resistant to maybe new ideas than somebody coming in from outside? I don't know, do we have a welcome wagon thing that shows up, or I don't know if that happens anymore or not.
We may be able to put some information in their hands through Lisa's contacts at High. Since those are the first being developed.
Right, there's one, and then Rockville, and I guess there's some over here, just a few houses over there near Fire Station.
Devon Creek. No, there's 13 homes going in there.
Those kind of things, you're new to an area, coming in from somewhere else, knowing what's available to you, that'll probably stick better than it does somebody who's been here 30 years.
It's also published in the newsletter. What the upcoming events.
Maybe just some flyers or something like
Just a
that.
thought. When you train them new, you get better participation than if you've been at it a while, like some of us old guys.
Well, certainly sure that, okay. Yeah, and Tara, you said about you mentioned the capital, basically the capital expenditure projects for Gibbons Park. Is there, and we've been asked, that came up a couple times before, and I always felt like I didn't know that there wasn't in my mind, I didn't know exactly what the order of things are, because it has to be kind of sequential. You can't build the bridge before you do some of the other stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, and so we do have that sequence and we know what things have to happen in order.
We do. A few years ago, we did some strategic planning or conceptual planning on Gibbons Park at Knoll Mill, and that included the entire area with passive trails, mulch trails on the east side of the creek, bridge to get over the creek, and then passive trails on the west side of the creek that loop and come back to a parking area. The parking area is, quasi-established now in a temporary form with Jersey barriers. And we would need to improve the access drive onto the property. But all that said, it would be the west side first, then the bridge, and then the east side.
Good. Because I just remember in the past that it felt kind of like, it's like, they could say, well, what do you guys recommend? Well, you can't do things out of work, you can't, you have to do as you said, you can't do the east side before you do the bridge, stuff like that, so, okay.
We're also moving forward with Lafayette Pavilion. Just went through your city board of service there. I'm sure the plan's been reported yet.
Signatures for reporting, so that should happen later this week. And then the township's been blessed with the donation of the pavilion by the Clark family, which was fantastic.
All the site work and the concrete, the building itself.
So there'll be 2 Clark pavilions.
We talked to them a different name, so we can.
Yeah, so you get too confused.
Teams out and rent the Park Pavilion.
Yeah.
Let's switch. On 1, on 2.
Then be up to the township to get the utilities to the concrete pad.
But very generously. Pavilion as well as the concrete pad, we have the electric plumbing and bathrooms, storage areas.
Are there any other big maintenance needs anywhere?
Yeah, Troy's been
Keen.
keeping up the maintenance on everything. I mean, I don't want to say nitpicking little things, but the paving project, and then he's repainting lines in the parking lots that we just poured the curb at last year. And it's bits and pieces to add up to one big chunk. So he's been really spearheading the maintenance of it.
One thing I would request, and I think I said this before, was more trees at the playground area at Flory and Lafayette. Because again, the reason that community is so utilized is because it's a shady playground. So the sooner we can get some shade in those other 2 playgrounds, I think more people will use them.
Is there even I guess it wouldn't work, but I mean, could there even be like a little shelter, a little, keep people, I mean, cause that's,
Fun shades or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. What I know, well, it takes trees to grow.
and that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, if
The sooner we get them planted, the sooner they'll start.
As soon as you start putting shelter, then that gets.
Yeah.
But the band.
people living in it, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come to that.
I'll stay out of mine.
Trees are good. Grandparents get to sit there and watch their kids.
Yeah,
That's why they go to community.
yeah,
It's in the shade.
yeah, that's true, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, I mean, now, I don't know. Do you need any other?
Yeah, that gives us some great direction. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, and, I mean, I know you finalized the budget when or is it pretty much already, but,
It's
We'll usually have them 2.5 weeks.
yeah, yeah. That's it.
So I think in a year, May, I start
Saying that we
No,
pretty good course, support recreation, keep the parks maintained and keep our, Gibbons plan,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that all seems like it all fits within the overall scope of our plan.
the major for next
You
year.
know, major, like, you put the parking lots in or the lighting system and the bridge at east,
And,
they were big projects.
Yeah.
and,
Is the pathway happening, like?
Stratford Pike to Oakview.
Yes, it is. That is moving forward with, start of construction mid-October.
Okay, finally. It seems like.
Currently, the mid-October is.
It's been what, 2 years at least?
We've been working a lot longer.
5 or 6 years at least. And it
Well, I
I keep thinking the ground was gonna start being.
come from funding too, so paperwork you gotta go through for the funding.
to the 19.
you mentioned also, you also talked about the, what do you call it, the MF4 work on,
Yes, it's right there. Ridge up in Flory Park.
yeah,
That too is slated to begin in October.
Yeah, the reshaping of the banks and planting of
Yeah.
trees and bushes and.
yeah. And I know you're even doing some planting along the community park, down along the creek, and I think that's great. So but I know you just kind of do that as you have.
Yeah, that's-
something.
Let's say that's Troy's personal greenhouse down there. So what we do is we buy small trees from the conservation district. Each year, he plants them down there. If we have one die or blows down, he goes, digs out one of his and replants it and we're.
And it's working like a charm. I mean, it really is. It's like, I think California used to be like 10 years ago, and now how those trees are doing very well down there.
It's just-
Yeah, and that kind of stuff is like, so if he can, if there's money available, chump change him laying around that he can have any more trees, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's working fine right now, so.
That's always Troy's background, where he came from before he came here, even he worked at landscapers and orchards and things like that. That was his background before he came here to work even, so he has.
You're right.
So something I wanted to update the board on is the fact that the board of supervisors approved the purchase of the new Hauser property at 89 Stratford.
I saw he passed.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, because I knew his wife still survived, so I didn't know she was gonna stay in the house.
Is going to stay in the house. Well,
Are you aware?
So, so have approved the purchase of that.
So are they doing that with like a life right or?
There's an agreement put in place in, I believe, 1990 that the township had to create a first refusal for the property from the new Hauser family if none of the children actually stayed. So none of the children have, they all live in California. And we do have a lease agreement with Dorothy, who was Bob's wife. We didn't foresee, obviously, Mr. Newhouser's passing, and so the board did have to do a budget amendment in order to purchase the property, but that has gone through as of the last meeting. So by the agreement, we have to settle by September 16th. Right now, we're set to settle on September 12th.
And is there you have any idea what we're gonna do with it, or just, is that to be determined?
I have a lease agreement with Dorothy, who resides in the house at this point, and the grandson who resides in the apartment that's in the house. And so they are permitted to stay for as long as Dorothy survives.
Okay.
At that point in time, the board will need to make a decision as to what is to be done with the house.
It's good to know that that's
In
taken
the
care
book,
of.
yeah, in, what would you say, yeah, it's basically in place at some point, so, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I have often marveled at that house when I'm walking on the trail there, that's great. Great, must have a great view.
Represent.
Yeah. Okay, all right. She said anything else? Is it, so I don't know whether we need to continue any of those discussions. You got enough to, from us direction? Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right. So, do we have, you have on the agenda, okay, any other, new business? Okay, any public comment? Okay. All right, here I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
Okay.